Yeah, well, Myles Garrett made some comments on Friday that obviously made a ton of news. And to make sure we're all on the exact same page referencing these comments, I want to play the entire exchange in full. It's 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
Now, do we have the follow-up yesterday too, or no?
We have a tag board of what he said yesterday, which kind of reiterates some of the stuff he said. But this is from Friday. This is Myles Garrett. It's 3 questions and 3 answers. You'll hear them all. So there's no confusion. We all are coming from the exact same spot. Here's what Myles Garrett said Friday in regards to his potential future with the Cleveland Browns.
Quarterback uncertainty heading into next season and some other things on the team, some areas in the state of flux. I'm just wondering, why is it so important for you to remain with the Cleveland Browns and finish your career here, as opposed to maybe having an opportunity to join an absolute Super Bowl contender at some point in your career?
Well, for me, I mean, first of all, I want to win. And I want the Browns to be able to put me and us in position to win. And I'm not trying to rebuild. I'm trying to win right now. I want that to be apparent when the season's over and we have those discussions. I want them to be able to illuminate that for me, illustrate that for me, so that can be something that I can see in the near future. Because that's all we want to do. I'm gonna stay loyal to a team that showed loyalty to me and faith in me by drafting me. But we have to do, at the end of the day, what's best for us. So if we have that alignment where this is something that is still possible in the near future, winning, going deep in the playoffs, putting a great defense out there, having a time of possession, running game offense, getting all the guys back, and I think that would really keep my mind at rest, keep me settled, and not just mine. A lot of the guys on the defense, the D-line, around the team, but we have to continue to take strides forward, not just as players, but from top down.
They have to show you that they have a sound plan going forward, that you want to know, like, what are we doing at quarterback and how are we going to get out there and contend again next season?
Absolutely. As uncertain as it is from the outside looking in, it's uncertain for us as well. So whether DTR is the solution or someone else's, it's got to be drawn out. There's got to be a plan of action, and just got to know where things are going.
If that vision didn't align, could you see yourself not being a Cleveland Brown?
I mean, it's a possibility, but I want to be a Cleveland Brown. I want to play here, I want to end my career here. But if we choose to do a rebuild and it's 2, 3, 4 years out, I want to be able to compete and play at a high level, play meaningful games, and be playing past January.
All right, now, before we dive into it, there was a follow-up yesterday. Do you want to put that up real quick?
So here's the tag board I had, just that he kind of doubled down on the winning. He was asked about his comments he was taking full. Yeah. And he essentially, he is now the youngest player in NFL history to reach 100 sacks.
Right.
He said, and I'm paraphrasing, but you can see the quote on the screen. It's a nice accomplishment, but remember LT because he won and did all of those things. Kind of doubling down on the fact. And that's just a very change of tune from what he said earlier in the season and throughout his career in terms of.
He also did say that some people took it what he said originally as a shot at Deshaun Watson. He says he didn't. That wasn't his intent. He was not saying anything about Deshaun Watson, and I agree. We could pile on Deshaun Watson all we want. I don't think Myles Garrett was necessarily talking about Deshaun Watson.
If he was, he was.
And if he was, he was. Who cares? But I don't think he was. But anyway. Go ahead, G. You want to jump in? Why don't you jump in first on Myles' comments?
Look, and I don't have no patience for none of these apologists that's going, oh, well, he doesn't want to be here. We want people who want to be here. Shut up. Stop playing. Like I'm going to keep it real with you, bro. Don't get mad and try to turn on nobody. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's a generational talent. He's better at his job than anybody else that has played for the Browns. That includes the coaches, general managers, scouts, and ownership. He's been holding it down. He won 0 or 1 games the first year he played. The Browns have had multiple years, 8 to be exact, to find a way to win, to find a way to put something around him. They did a soft reset when they did a full reset. They ended up getting him. We wasted Joe Thomas's career in losing all them games so we could get a Myles Garrett. Now we got Myles Garrett. He's the fastest person to 100 sacks. Guess what? Now you wasted his career. Now what do you want to do? You want to tank again, get some more picks, and hopefully you can find a player that may be 50% of what Myles Garrett is. Y'all think these picks are golden. He wants to go to a contender, right? If you trade him to a contender, that means they're good. So those number 1 picks that you think you're getting that is going to turn into Joe Montana and Jerry Rice are going to be 26th, 27th, 29th, and you're going to get those picks. And you're going to have your middle of the road pick with a late first round pick. Good luck finding Hall of Famers at the end of the first round doing that. I just say it like this. I applaud him for doing it, and I think other players should do it. Because if not, ownership takes you as a joke. Certain teams use this stuff as business models. This is business and stadium talk. You know what Myles Garrett realizes? They trotting people out to give you explanations about what the roof gonna look like in the new stadium. And they give you 45 minutes on that. But they can't give you a 45-minute plan for Myles Garrett to say, who you starting at quarterback? What are you doing with the running game? Who's calling the plays? They can't give you that because they don't care about that. Myles Garrett will never step foot in that dome over there. He won't. Probably it's 5 years away. He's 29. Is he going to be here when he's 34? No. He woke up and was like, hold on. This sounds good, but I don't know if I want to be around for that. And you know what the Cleveland Browns are doing? They're already warming the whole let's run it back situation up. They're running. They're warming that up right in front of your face, and they think you're dumb. So Myles Garrett, I said this 3 months ago. If Deshaun Watson don't work out, you guys can do victory laps on that. But Myles Garrett is pieces. He's out of here. And I'm gonna let you know it's not hard. It's almost impossible trying to find Hall of Fame players. It's almost impossible. So if this is the last season that Myles Garrett is playing here, listen, I'm not giving the Browns, I'm not giving nobody in that front office no benefit of the doubt because you can replace coaches. You can replace scouts. They get fired, get rehired. They get fired and rehired. That's why they choose players over coaches. But we're sitting here saying we like Kevin Stefanski's, we love his trophy so much. Let's get rid of Myles Garrett and try to reset the table. Stop it. This is nasty work. We're in trouble.
By the way, it is hard to find Hall of Famers, and the Browns, with the safe assumption that Myles Garrett will be a Hall of Famer, Browns have only found 2 since '99, he and Joe Thomas. That's it. Go ahead, Jason.
Well, I agree with Garrett in that this is the collateral damage of Deshaun not working, is you wind up in positions like this. We were always going to have this conversation this offseason. We were having this conversation at the trade deadline. And I said the trade deadline, I'm not trading him now because it's not a robust market now. There's only certain teams that are interested. Mm-hmm. But this offseason, you absolutely have to have that conversation. And the one thing I would say is if you trade him to a contender, you're going to have a low pick. You're right. So don't trade him to a contender. You know how many teams would be interested in him? Find a 500 team that wants him and trade him to a 500 team. You know, you don't have to send him to the Lions. Send him to the Saints. I'm just throwing it out there. You know what I mean?
I think a team that makes sense in that category that actually would try to do it is the Cowboys.
I actually was thinking the Cowboys, but they might actually be too good then. Like, they're so wild year to year because you're looking for a team where you're not getting the 28th
Yeah, but that
pick.
really bad team, well, they're not going to trade for Myles Garrett.
No, but a middle-of-the-road team that's trying, like an owner who's trying to make a splash, who's trying to sell tickets. Yeah. But anyway, so I wrote this story Friday, and we were at the Cavs game Friday, and you know the meme of Zach Galifianakis in Hangover where like all the formulas.
Yeah, right.
I had that moment Friday where it was like, this is it.
He had that moment after I gave him the breadcrumb.
Oh, shut up. Mike and his breadcrumb.
What breadcrumb? What was the breadcrumb?
Jason had that moment. It happened after I pointed him to something that then clicked everything else in his mind.
Well, no, we can say it. So Myles is at the Cavs game Friday.
Yeah.
And he walks across the court. He finds Darius. Myles is a clutch guy. Darius is a clutch guy. So two clutch guys are talking, and the camera crew's there. And Mike's like, hey, that's Hard Knocks. And as soon as he said Hard Knocks, like everything fell into place. And it was like, well, of course Myles is going to say this when Hard Knocks is here. Like Myles is going to be the star of Tuesday night's episode. And I don't know what.
Are they going to actually cover it? They didn't cover any of the Joe Burrow stuff.
I know. So we'll see, because I'm sure Myles probably sat with them for.
Yeah.
Now, if they pull some of this, but you're certainly going to see Myles and Darius. Tuesday night.
Sure.
And with the conversation that they had on Friday, and then I just like all the pieces start falling into place, and the Browns' focus at this point has to be the dome. Garrett's right. Like, if you're in ownership, you're trying to sell tickets in 2029 to this dome. You don't care about this year. This year's shot. Next year's shot. But you have to get people on board. You have to sell hope by 2027 to start writing these checks for these PSLs and these season tickets for this dome in 2029, which, by the way, I'm still waiting for somebody to show me how they're paying for it. Because they keep talking about it, and they keep running out all of these interviews and all of these designs. State ain't giving them $1 billion.
No.
The state might give them a few million, but where is this other half coming from?
I don't know. Is the state going to try to strong arm the county? Can they do that? I don't know.
I personally, I still think Jimmy's going to have to pay for it himself.
He should.
But we're not at that point. So until somebody tells me how they're going to pay for this other half, but that's a whole entirely different conversation. So if they're really going to do this, if they're going to do this dome in 2029, you have to sell hope by 2027. Where is the hope on this current roster? As good as Myles Garrett is, everything you said is 1,000% true. Myles Garrett is not going to sell you PSLs by himself. You know what will? A quarterback. Where are you going to get the quarterback? Is it in this draft? Doesn't look like it. I'm not sure that it is.
That's right. I know what this theory is. Go ahead. Yeah.
I don't know where this quarterback is in this. First of all, they're not even in position to get the top two if they go 1 and 2. I don't think anyone really believes that they're really franchise changers. But you know who's could be coming in 2026?
Arch Manning.
And who has Jimmy Haslam had a fascination with since he bought the Browns?
Peyton Manning.
The Manning family.
Yeah.
It makes perfect sense. You've got to have, for all the things that Myles Garrett is, the one thing he's not is the same thing Joe Thomas was not, and that's a quarterback.
Yeah.
And until you have a quarterback, you aren't going anywhere in the NFL. So if you trade Myles for these picks, and I again, we were going to have this conversation. Myles just expedited things by what he said on Friday. We were always going to have this conversation this offseason. If you trade him for multiple ones, now you have the currency to move around the board. You're going to be bad next year. You're going to have a high pick to begin with, but if you're not quite in position, and it's not just Arch, because like NIL money changes this, and Arch could wind up going back to school. He could go wait for 2027.
And the Mannings have already shown if they don't want to go to a team, they won't go.
I wrote that.
Yeah.
Why would he not? They kept their son from going from San Diego.
Yeah.
Do you think? And think about it like this: even if next year they say they're going to be terrible,
yeah.
If they start off 1-6, they're gone anyway.
Yeah, right. That's true.
So
everybody's fired. Yeah.
Like everybody gonna get fired anyway.
We'll see. But I'm talking strictly from an ownership.
Yeah, right.
Take the GM out. Take the coach out.
Yeah.
If you are the owner of the Browns, you are focused on this dome and selling hope in PSLs and tickets to this dome. You have to have that in place by 2027, which means you got to get your quarterback in 2026. The 26 draft at this point looks a lot better than the 25 draft. Is all of this a risk? Of course. Yes, it's a huge risk. The one thing the Haslams will do is take risks.
Yeah.
They will shoot for the moon in that instance. We've seen that already. I think that's what you do. You have to trade Myles this offseason. You get multiple ones for him. You're going to be bad next year, and you put yourself in position to yet again try and get a quarterback in the 26th draft.
And it's a shame because
of course it's a shame. It's devastating.
You know, last week I was like, by the time they get good in 29, you know, but how good is he still going to be? But you know, he's such a freak. And when I did look back, there are some good pass rushers that were good into their mid-30s. And he might be one of those guys.
Absolutely.
If he wants to be.
It's not like he's going to be out of the league.
But if you're him, I don't have any beef with a single word that Myles Garrett said.
No, nobody blames Myles. I don't think. I haven't seen anyone be upset with Myles for what he said.
I can't imagine.
He's given him 8 years. That's 1 year longer than LeBron gave the Cavs
absolutely,
the first time around.
I absolutely believe that if the Browns were a legit contender, which obviously they're not, that he would stay here for the rest of his career. I believe that.
Yes.
So
he bought the Cavs. Like, it's a small
yeah,
stake,
but why would he have done that if he wasn't all in? But I don't blame. Like, if I'm Myles Garrett, I absolutely want to be traded. There's nothing they could show him.
No.
They're not going to win next year.
No.
There's no way they're going to win next year, and they're probably not going to win in 26 either.
He was close to saying this 2 years ago.
Yeah,
like
right.
2 years ago, he was on the verge of going public with some of his frustrations, and he sort of backed off the ledge. But now here we are. So I don't think anybody blames him.
No.
But you know, the one thing about it, I mean, look at what Houston did with Deshaun. They traded their franchise quarterback, and they won the division again 2 years later because of now they got the quarterback right in CJ, and they had all these extra picks. They won the division. They won a playoff game 2 years after trading their franchise quarterback.
And that's hard to do. It doesn't always work out that way.
You got to hit on your picks.
Yeah,
which I don't know how anyone would have faith that these guys would get it right.
No faith.
But what other? My thing would be, what other choice do you have at this point?
No, at this point you don't, because you've done such a bad job putting together a team that you're now in a spot where it makes sense to trade. It's crazy to say
generational talent,
but that's probably what you got to do.
What I would do is fire every person there.
Yeah,
I get a new vision, a new coach, and go find a quarterback somewhere.
But how
where?
You gonna find a quarterback?
Listen, I'm the one who said this 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been extrapolating. It ain't nothing else out there. But what I'm going to say is, I am sure not going to sit on my hands. The problem with the Browns is they do this all the time.
Yes.
They say, oh, we don't need D tackles. And then they throw their hands up in the air and they're like, oh, well, we're giving up 200 yards on the ground. You say, oh, we don't need quarterback competition. We just got Deshaun, and that's okay. Then you get rid of all the competition. Then he plays terrible. You say, what could we have done about that? You say, we want receivers. Like, we're good. We don't need any receivers. We can get rid of them. But then you're like, well, we got to get some weapons in the draft. They miss on picks too much. And by the way, this just did not start. This just did not start with Deshaun Watson. If I'm Myles Garrett, I say this starts with Baker Mayfield. Because you fumbled that bag. You had an opportunity to either do two things. I'm sitting Baker Mayfield because he's hurt, or I'm going to make sure that I have a conversation with him and we're going to bring him back and we're going to keep things rolling. You did neither. He ended up saying, I'm walking, I'm done. And now you have to find a quarterback, which made you put you under the 8 ball with Deshaun Watson. They keep fumbling relationships. So now you get rid of Myles Garrett. And let's be honest with you. If I'm a player, I'm never coming to Cleveland as free agent, ever. If you can't do anything, I'm never doing it. I look at Odell. I look at all of the guys you brought in. Now you just traded Myles Garrett. What makes you think, and I'm going to be special? I'm not coming here.
Okay, but I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Not everything, but a lot. But ultimately, I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's the best path forward?
Find another person with another vision.
Fine. I don't disagree with you.
But what's the vision? There's no vision to get out there.
And the best way to probably get a quarterback is to accumulate a lot of high picks.
That's the best way to get a quarterback. That's called hedging your bet. Because they're so terrible with picking quarterbacks that they need 2 or 3 other picks to just, if this don't work out, we'll at least get this. Think about this. This is a cool little exercise. You trade Myles Garrett, right, for 3 first-round picks.
2. I don't think you're getting 3.
Okay, so you don't get 2. So let's look at this. So say, for instance, you get Jed Wills and Greg Newsome.
Yeah, right.
That is their style. But that's how they pick.
I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you. I would get new guys making the picks. If we just assume that every year, no matter who the Browns have, they're going to screw up the picks, then all of this is pointless because they're never going to be good.
No, I've seen this for 5 years that they screwed the picks up.
Well, a lot longer than that.
Yeah, I mean, but I'm
25
just,
years they screwed the picks
So
up.
what I'm saying is, I'm not. Here's what's going to happen. I'm just be honest with you. This is going to happen. Right now, they're already putting it in motion. That's why they flew. We had a conversation about the young lady who came out. What was her name?
Cat.
She said, she talked about doubling down on their process even when the data doesn't.
Oh, yeah.
They're running it back. That's a whole conversation of, you guys don't know our process. This was all part of the plan. We already
Nobody's saying
that. Nobody's saying that. Nobody internally is saying this was. Everybody internally is like, this is bad.
A disaster.
This is bad. This is a worst case scenario.
I can only go from what they telling me, because Dede sure made it seem like that Jimmy Haslam was super happy with what he saw on the field.
No, she didn't say that. She said they're happy. She did that. They're happy with Stefanski and Berry.
Oh, okay. Well, that's
obviously they're not happy with what they're seeing on the field.
But if you're happy with that, that just goes to, if you're happy with 3 and something and having to trade Myles Garrett, you're insane. How can you be happy with that? You don't have a quarterback.
Nobody's happy.
Nobody's happy with that.
Well, stop talking. Why say happy? Just be quiet and be mad. Be upset behind the scenes. But you telling me you're happy with it and telling me about this dome. Listen, people think that people gonna watch football forever. I'm gonna tell you something. Listen, this is a different generation. Maybe where y'all came from. When you get past 40 and 50, there's a little thing called loyalty. People that's younger is not signing up for this. They'll rather go play on the internet somewhere, and their attention span is quicker than $5-minute dollar bill. No, people is not dealing with this. They will go do something else. They'll root for the Bills. They'll root for the Steelers. Hey, the Bengals is in town. If you think that we're going to wait 5 more years for you to get good just to grease your pockets and hang out with you and make you feel good, I'm not doing 131. And I'm not drinking no Kool-Aid for nobody. If you, listen, y'all better get me up out of here. I'm going to be on you from Jump Street. No. You trade Myles Garrett, I'm not giving you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not saying, don't tell me, G. Bush, you're being emotional. Give him a chance. I'm on you I'm not selling no Kool-Aid. No more. You guys mess up, you cash these checks, and that's what you do every year, and you reset like people is dumb. We not stupid.
I think most fans will still be there, unfortunately, because they get conned.
This is not a tomorrow problem. I said this a couple weeks ago. This is a 10 years from now problem. Browns are losing a generation.
Oh, yeah, they are. You're right. What you both have said about the young people, you're right. The older fans are in, no matter what.
Of course. That's fine.
No matter what, that's not changing. I can't imagine anybody finds it acceptable that this team would be okay with losing the next 5 years. I'm talking about media members, fans, whatever. But people will still go to the games. But it's terrible. The Browns are in a terrible place. I don't trust their GM at all. I don't trust the coach anymore. I don't have enough faith in him. I think we've all gotten in this mindset of, when it comes to the Browns, that I think for good franchises, there's this high bar of championship, right? For Browns fans, and even some in Browns media, we've gotten to the point where mediocrity is an accomplishment.
Yeah.
Right? Baker Mayfield won 1 playoff game. He won a playoff game. Kevin Stefanski won 2 Coaches of the Year. They must be great. No. The goal is not to win a Coach of the Year, because everybody thought your team wouldn't be as good. If I have to hear one more effing broadcaster talk about the fact that the Browns won despite 4 quarterbacks last year, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit about Stefanski's Coach of the Year awards, and I like Coach Stefanski. I don't think he's a terrible coach. I think he's an adequate coach. But I am with G. I think it is time to move on. They do need a complete rehaul. That being said, as much as I think it sucks, I think the best way to get out of this is if Jimmy gets lucky, hires finally the right GM, and they trade Myles Garrett and have a bunch of draft picks to potentially move up to the top spot in the 25 draft.
Until they get a quarterback, nothing else matters.
The 26 draft.
It doesn't matter. Until they get a quarterback. It doesn't matter who the GM is. It doesn't matter who the coach is. It doesn't matter who the defensive end is.
You can't.
Until you have a quarterback.
You can't win with this is not... earlier in the year, and I know Jay's big on this, it's about defense. Everybody's defense wins championship. Defense does not win championships anymore. Even with the quarterback numbers down a little bit, it's still about the quarterback. It's still about the quarterback. That's it. The quarterback doesn't guarantee you success. It guarantees you a chance at success.
Yeah.
If you don't have the quarterback, yeah, every once in a while, like the Browns did last year, you could have a year where you get to the playoffs because of your defense. And why will the Steelers again most likely lose in the first round? Best case scenario for them, win one game because their quarterback's not good enough. And with rare exceptions, you cannot win in the playoffs when it matters without a quarterback. That's it.
I 100% agree with what you just said, Bull, but I want to point out that quarterback numbers, I know, started slow.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the leaderboards right now.
If the Jay Crawford propaganda
They're
is
not
proven
slow.
untrue.
These numbers, I mean, Joe Burrow leads the NFL with 39 touchdown passes. Do you know what
Yeah.
the leading touchdown passes was last season?
Not 40.
Dak had 36. We still have 2 games to go. Burrow has 39. Lamar Jackson has 37. So with 2 weeks to go, we have 2 quarterbacks.
That doesn't even include their rushing touchdowns, especially Lamar.
No, that's what I'm getting
Yeah.
at. You have 6 quarterbacks already, 5 quarterbacks, with over 30 touchdown passes this year. Only 4 last season.
Yeah.
We still have 2 games to go.
Right, and Burrow and Lamar will throw for over 40.
Yeah, and Josh Allen's at 26, and he's ran for 700 touchdowns in his own right.
Yeah. By the way, if the Bengals make the playoffs, should Joe Burrow win MVP?
No. He should be in the conversation, just like Jerry Jeudy should have been in the conversation. He is no longer in the conversation.
That was good, man.
Jerry
But
Judy's out of the conversation.
Josh Allen and Lamar's numbers, Bull.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow has 39 touchdowns. Lamar has 37. He has half as many interceptions, and he has his rushing yards and touchdowns. It's Allen, Lamar, and then Burrow's third, even though Burrow's having an incredible season.
Yeah, listen to him. I would just I gotta start listening to what's the name. I gotta start listening to these old dudes, man. It pains me.
Which old dudes?
Old dudes, I like BSK. Old dudes like Les Levine. Old dudes like Jim Donovan. Like them people. These people put all that time and energy covering the Browns, and the Browns ain't nowhere near anywhere. And you losing people that been talking about this team forever, and we still having the same conversations. And it's like, come on, man. Like at some point, like the excuses got to stop. At some point, it's like it's not that hard, fellas. I mean, I seen the Jacksonville Jaguars go to these expansion teams. The Houston Texans expansion teams. The Panthers are an expansion team. These guys are going to Super Bowls, AFC championships. How hard is it to get a quarterback? All of them have got quarterbacks.
Yeah.
At some point, and you've been sitting here for 25 years, and you're trying to sell it to me. You gaslight me like, oh, it's rocket science, and I'm like, no, it ain't. You know, why do our quarterback come here and Russell Wilson was trash just like the rest of them? Now he's good. Why do other people get retreads that are good?
I don't know.
Like,
it's hard to believe. By the way, Mike, I think it's convenient that your argument for Jerry Jeudy had to do with yardage, but then you ignored the fact that Joe Burrow's thrown over 500 more yards than Lamar Jackson.
Let's go to the next conversation.